And just like that,
All right.
we're back to another podcast. Again, I know that I say this all the time, but this is a special one.
Is it?
This is our first time that we have a couple
kidding.
in the podcast, and is a very good friend of ours from a long time. Again, from the church. You guys are going to see a lot of people from the church because it's just we grew up with these people.
Yeah. I mean,
And that's Jackie and Boris.
Hi,
Welcome to the
guys.
podcast, guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for
you.
being
Can we
here.
insert the audio
Thank you
clip
for
here?
that.
Yeah.
The children clapping.
Yes, and we'll start first of all. Like I always like to start with asking everybody, how are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Doing good?
Yeah.
Everything good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now?
As good as can be, because I'm not gonna lie, last week was horrible for me.
Why? What happened?
It's just the work was
Oh,
crazy.
work.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
full of crazy stuff. We have a couple things we have closing up in terms of projects, and it's just turning into one mess. Like nothing.
Mm.
We're finding like mistakes and stuff, and we're like, oh my gosh, is this possible on February 17th? The answer is no. Like if I had to say right now, no. So someone's gonna be mad.
Yeah.
It's not me. I didn't do nothing. It was like, I was only part of the project. I was pop filter. Anyway, I was just part of the project. I was just part of the delivery. I wasn't the project manager. But now,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, I
I'll
think
be
I think
mad.
with work and stuff, with like everybody, things have just been getting a little bit hectic, just because we're kind of like over the pandemic now, so things are kind of trying to like smooth out again. With
Yeah.
like, but it's still kind of crazy. Like in my job, we're behind, like really, really bad. So again, Jackie and Boris are friend of ours from church. Back in Calvary Temple, we were all there together, and to tell us a little bit about you guys. You guys have yeah, go ahead.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll start with Jackie. Jackie, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, yes, we did go to church back to Calvary days back in like 05.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I don't know. I think I went to Calvary in like 03. I started going.
Yeah, because you were there before my parents.
Yeah.
Technically.
Before there
Yeah.
was like a Spanish ministry.
Mm.
We
In
were
the
there.
church.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah. So you were there before me.
He was there
Yeah.
before Stone. They
Yep.
were there before Stone.
Oh wow,
Before
Pastor
that
Stone, by the way, was an American pastor that used to preach in Spanish with his wife. God bless. Wait, who passed away?
His wife.
She passed
His
away.
wife
right?
passed
God
away,
bless
and
her soul.
he's
Um,
not doing the
And
greatest.
he's not doing great yet. But they, I mean, how old is
He's
he
older
now?
Like 80 something or whatever. But the man has done so much in his life
Yeah.
that it's like it's hard to believe that he has still the energy and the strength to still keep going, and he still does. And he lost
Mhm.
his wife. He even said it. He said it when we were younger. I don't know if you remember. He was like, "Que Dios me lleva a mí primero y no a mi Rosita."
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's just like
Oh,
now
man.
she's
He used to say
dead,
that
and
all
he's
the time.
still here, and I'm just like,
Oh,
oh my God, God bless him. And it's always one story after another, whether it's him falling, breaking something, or just last I heard he became septic, which is crazy hard
Oh,
to
no.
it was crazy.
When was that? Is he doing better?
Couple weeks ago, from what I have understood, I don't think he's doing that much better, and it's just his health isn't what it used to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad literally if I'm not mistaken, a couple weeks ago, my dad was just like, "Oh yeah, parece que esta va a ser la última semana. It's gonna be last week," and I'm just like,
he just keeps going.
yeah, and then he keeps going, and then mom keeps telling him like, "Yeah, stop. You don't even know when that's gonna be." So,
Mm. Well, yeah, that's sad. That's a
Yeah.
little sad to
But yeah,
hear.
way
there
back
were-
when, I'm sorry, tangent.
Oh,
Before
yeah.
Pastor Stone,
Yeah.
this was like,
Yeah, I didn't know that. So Jackie was there first.
Yep.
And then I came in 2006. I got to
Mhm.
here to the U.S. And we went to Calvary maybe like a few months after, because my parents sent Vanessa, my sister, and I here first to start school, because they were still in the process of selling a house in Puerto Rico, and then they sent us first to start here, and then they came in November. So they sent us here to my grandma's house. We came here in November. When they came, we started looking for a church. Eventually, we ran into Calvary, and that's where I met you guys. So
Yep.
then you were there in 2005. When did you get to Calvary?
I'm like trying to figure that out too. I'm like,
So,
Well, when he got to Calvary, in like 2010.
yeah, like
2010.
we were already
But
living.
You guys
there.
knew each other.
oh
Forever.
yeah. Yeah, we knew them
Ah.
for the longest time.
When did I meet you?
Oh, we knew.
We were in
knew
Ecuador.
Ruben for.
Oh, you knew Ruben for
my,
ages.
My dad and my uncle
Mhm.
knew Ruben.
And Ruben is my
And-
uncle.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. But he was like the face of Cuenca back in the day. you
Yeah,
know,
because he was the drunk of
uh,
Cuenca. Let's be honest. I mean,
no, because he was always
No
involved
shade.
in sports and
Yeah,
marching
yeah,
and
yeah,
all
yeah.
Okay.
that. So he
Oh, he was
always-
known.
He
He
always
was known.
represented
Yeah, he's a
Cuenca, yeah.
big time like sports guy, like gymnastics guy. Like even
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
he's like
Mm.
60 something, and the man still is like, look, I could do a
Still
handstand. I'm like,
doing
can
it.
you
Yeah.
stop,
Yeah, I
bro?
can't-
I can't
like
believe it.
you go break something.
So
I can't
you
believe it.
met Chris in Ecuador
mm-hmm.
back in what year?
Oh man,
I arrived
probably-
2000, so
Oh,
No, wait.
I
No,
was
yeah.
like 10, so that's about right. Yeah,
probably around that
and
time. Yeah.
and I remember you guys working for Radio Visión Cristiana. over
yeah,
there
yeah, my
for the
parents.
radio.
Yeah,
Oh,
my
okay,
parents
yeah,
were-
yeah,
Radio
yeah.
Visión Cristiana. So
Okay.
we were always followers of Radio Visión Cristiana, and man, even here, like, oh, Radio Visión Cristiana, the 3 a.m. prayer, and all of us will wake
You'll
up.
wake up
and-
at 3 a.m. Your
Oh,
parents would make you wake up at
wow.
3 a.m. Damn, I was
Yeah.
talking not too long ago that I thought I had it bad, but I always tell people there's always someone that's worse. My dad never woke me up at 3 a.m. I'm sorry, he never
Wow,
did
so
that.
your parents
He
were
never-
still following the radio from Ecuador and like wake up at 3 a.m. and do the prayer with them.
Yes, yeah, but I remember also in the early morning, the radio from over there will link to the radio.
to the from
here.
over here. Yeah, that was a thing.
Mm.
Yeah. So then that's how we said that we all of us are connected like worldwide at 3 a.m. So that was
It was a big deal. Well,
That's
it's
crazy.
but it's also like a big deal because that's what the radio used to do that a lot. Where it's like, a esta oración hora, whatever. But 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Like,
he'll wake
that's a
us up.
commitment right there.
That is commitment.
He'll
That
wake.
is commitment.
My dad was always
He still
awake.
wakes up at 3 a.m., right?
No, I wake up
Doesn't
at
he?
5.
No,
my
no,
dad?
not you.
Oh,
Your dad.
my dad. Yes.
At
We-
3
still
a.m.?
does that to
he
pray?
No, he has a job.
Oh, and he
Oh,
still
he
works
still
a
works
over.
at
driving job, and he has to deliver a car and then comes back.
Yeah,
I
no.
think from 3:30 to 6. I think.
Wow. So he's
It's weird.
he's still on that same schedule of prayer.
Yeah.
He
Wow.
wakes up at 3 a.m. Gracias, señor.
So
Nice.
so to keep going then with that, so then you met in like a 2000. I mean 2000 over there. That's when you came
Mhm.
here, and then after you came here in 2010. Were the intentions of you
Yeah.
coming here were because you guys knew Pastor Guider and stuff like that,
No.
or
No, so the intention was to continue my education here. 'Cause
Okay.
I was the only one born here in the United States out of all my brothers and sisters.
also you were born here?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
then my dad was like, "Well, Boris, one day you're gonna be the bridge in this household." And
No
I was
pressure.
like, "That's a lot
No,
of
that's what I'm saying.
pressure."
Like, I
To,
just-
like,
it's
bring
you're gonna
everybody-
bring the bridge. I'm like,
So
you,
yeah.
like,
No,
man.
it was a lot because at the age of 13 or 12, he's like, "Boris, one day you're gonna go to the U.S. and you're gonna be the one that's gonna support all of us." And
Mm.
He
So-
said that?
yeah.
Like, I didn't
Yeah.
know Gabino said
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Gabino,
yeah. And-
Wow.
and
te
then-
invito.
No, and
Anytime.
Then, and then he's like, "Oh, your brother. Imagine all of us over there." And
Oh
then,
my gosh!
So
Like he
I
was
was like-
selling you that dream to
Wow.
you, yeah.
So that once I came here, I lived with my godfather in Brooklyn for
Okay.
a month.
Okay.
He was the one that brought me, paid the ticket, everything else, and then that's when I told Pastor Guido, "Hey, Pastor Guido, just letting you know, I'm here in Jersey, no, in New York," and he's like, "What? Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I need to go see you, man." And so pretty much started like that, So he came, he took me to Calvary Temple. It was like a private tour, He's like,
He was like a private
Yeah.
tour. I'm the pastor.
yeah,
Okay,
like,
great.
he's like, I have I'm the pastor for the Spanish ministry and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he showed me the church. Like, I think Rosie was there at church, but
Of course.
that's it. And then he showed me like
Yeah,
So
the,
Rose.
was there.
he
Yeah.
showed me the huge
Temple or
temple
the
and all that. So since I've always been like a little geek with acoustics and all that, my
Mm.
my first reaction was this. I'm like, I'm just trying to hear
Take it.
vibrations and all that. I'm like, oh,
It's
okay.
good in here. It's
I,
not
I
bad.
think this is good. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh yeah, it's always good sound. Okay. So I stayed. I stayed for like maybe 2 days and then went back
Okay.
to Brooklyn.
And when
I do remember that very
Yeah.
specifically.
I went
I
back
do
to
remember.
Brooklyn.
I always wanted to ask you because
Yeah.
I never knew what happened. Like, was it that he spoke with your dad, or it's like I never knew that. All I know is that you came out of nowhere, slept over for a couple of days, and I'm like, Boris is here, Dad, though, and he's like, yes, here, and he's staying, and I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Then I don't know how much time later. Then
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, oh,
No,
now
no,
he's here.
no. So it was like an agreement that we had with Pastor Guido.
Okay.
He's like, Boris, I'm willing to help you, so you can continue with your education. He offered me like help with William Patterson and all that because they have a really music program, a
Yeah.
really good music program.
program.
Okay.
So I was like, oh man, that's awesome, man. Then I told my godfather, listen, I'm gonna be leaving. He's like, what? How come you're making this decision and no one has told me anything?
Mm-hmm.
My dad didn't say anything.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't say anything. And Pastor Guido came that night, and he's like, "Oh, let me talk to him."
Mm-hmm.
So they had like a little chat, and he's like, "Boris, I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is too good to be true."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "It's like they're serving you everything in a silver platter."
Mm.
And I was like, I was naive. I was like 17, turning 18, know.
Mhm.
And then he's like, just be careful. If you need anything, I'm here, you
Right.
know. And I was like, well, my goal is to, Pastor Guido's offering me all these opportunities over there, So I was like, oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So that's it.
where he met me
Okay.
at church.
So
Yeah.
wait.
I
So
remember
when
that.
you
And then-
came, it was 2011. This is all 2011.
2010.
2010. In 2010, you guys met.
Yeah,
That same
actually,
year.
Yeah.
There was
November.
a youth service. I remember. Al was there playing the
Okay.
guitar. I was playing the
Oh,
piano.
Oh no.
Oh.
Somebody else, Desiree, maybe was
Desiree.
leading
Mhm.
worship. The good old days. And then Chris comes in with this funny-looking guy in a black turtleneck
I
sweater.
remember
Oh my
that.
gosh.
Come on, man. You
Full
gotta let her do you like
beard.
that?
Full beard. He had a full beard at like
Like
17,
afro.
18. I'm like, oh my God, Boris, you look like a sir.
So he comes in with Chris, and he goes into the chapel.
Mhm.
And he's like, hey, you're like saying hi to everyone, introducing Boris. And then
Yeah.
he's like, hey, Jackie, this is Boris, my friend, And I'm like, hi, how are you? We shook hands. And he says that night he saw me playing the piano. He's like, this lady is probably married. What is she doing up there on stage? And she looks
Con
like she has
pantalones.
3 kids.
Con pantalones.
He was already casting the judgment.
Uh-huh.
He was like, here you go.
That was my first reaction.
Esta señora.
Wow.
He said, esta señora. Right?
Right.
No, because I remember you guys playing. Michael Nash was there too, and
Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
God.
and you guys were playing, like leading a whole service. So for me, that was like, okay, they're not playing that bad.
No. He thought we sucked.
Yeah. No, they're not playing
Well,
that bad.
For, for
Meanwhile,
those
Boris
that
is
do,
like,
yeah. For obviously for those that don't know, Boris is an amazing musician.
Yes.
We're all kind of musicians, but Boris is an amazing musician.
Yeah.
You studied for a long time, like the guitar. Was it only the
Yes.
guitar?
It was the guitar for many years, and then I transitioned to bass, and then drums, and and then that's where and then I went to native instruments from Ecuador, and
Yeah.
yeah. So it's been many.
I love that
Instruments.
we have all played at least some type of instrument in Calvary Temple.
oh my
All of
God. That's sick. When you think about common things like that,
Wait.
like Al,
All of us.
think about it this way. Al said that we're all PKs, and I was like, "Phew." Now you're like, we've all played instruments in Calvary Temple. I'm like, "Phew."
Yeah.
Again, I'm like,
Wow.
That is so
That's-
true.
that is
we've
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
been there. We all know Rose Brown. We
Oh
all
my
know you
God.
guys.
Yeah,
are good.
Rose is this lovely
janitor.
lady.
I'm just kidding. Let
And-
me stop before she
No,
comes and bonks me
lovely
in the head.
lady that basically takes care of the church and everybody in it.
Is
Like-
she still there at Calvary?
Yeah,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course she's still
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
I had the
Wow.
opportunity to see her a couple of, maybe 1 or 2 years ago at one of the sisters' like birthday parties, like their 60th, and she looked at me and she's like, she almost didn't recognize me,
Mm.
Wow.
and I was like, and then she looked at me, she just smiled and smiled back, and I
She
was like,
she
"Oh."
knows you. That's why she's like
course.
this, Chris.
Yeah, this person needs help.
Oh
A
boy!
lot of help.
Every time I see her, I give her a big hug. She is.
Yeah.
she's
Why
a-
not?
But
she's been there forever.
but you know what happened? My first reaction when I saw Rosie, right? Or Rose.
Rose, yeah.
Rose. She just looked at me, and I was like, oh she looks mean.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
She kind of
is
gets like
she
a little
is
bit of
mean.
aggressive.
She is
She is
mean.
Yeah.
She is mean, but
is that-
lovely at the same
loving-
time.
Loving, she's loving me.
She's like
Oscar
tough
the
love.
Grouch.
Tough love. That's
yeah,
what
she's
she
like
did. Yeah.
Oscar the Grouch. Like, he's just there, and he got love in his heart.
So
but-
she saw you and she gave you.
But
She was
I was-
mean mugging you.
I was
Mhm.
scared.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like,
Why, hijo?
first time in Calvary, and then I see this lady like,
Hijo, but you seen worse in Ecuador, hijo. En Cuenca.
and
Los
and then
pillos, hijo.
I know.
You're gonna have to put like some subtitles there.
I know.
Oh,
I'm
it's
gonna
fine.
have to
Pillos
like
are the thieves.
thieves. Yeah.
Los
Here you
choros,
go.
los choros.
I can't. Why?
choros.
Everyone knows
Choros,
that word
choros.
for
Yeah.
being different,
Choros.
though.
Yeah.
In Mexican
choros.
dialect, it's derogatory. In Ecuadorian dialect, it's also derogatory, but it depicts it depicts a
on-
country person. It's like you would
someone native.
yeah, someone natives like Boris has features from un cholito del campo, you know.
I don't know what that means, so I don't know if it's like an
Un
insult
cholito-
or what. So.
no. It's basically just saying he has
Sigue,
native
sigue.
features. That's all it is. I'm horrible.
So all right, so moving on with the story because we got our freaking co-host
I
roasting
apologize.
the
I'm not
the
roasting,
guest.
no,
We're
I
not
apo-
coming back.
I apologize. You know
welcome.
what? You guys can kick me off. You can vote me off. It's
No.
okay.
So
No.
again, going back, so you guys met in 2010,
Yeah.
and then in 2010 did you guys start talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say so.
Yeah.
So he came in that
Mhm.
first Sunday that I saw him on a Friday, right?
Mhm.
Then I saw him again on Sunday, and on Sunday it was just like someone scrambling him across the stage to get him and his guitar plugged in, so he could just play. And I was like, wait a minute, I've been on the worship team for a while. Who is
Like,
this?
Who is
are
this
you?
guy?
How
Who
is he
is
about to
this
come up
guy?
in here and,
And
then
just
like
play without even practicing.
Yeah,
Well, you didn't pay
exactly.
your dues.
Uh-huh.
Where are they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
no.
he just saying hi to everyone because I think Michael Nash had gone to Ecuador on like a trip.
Ah.
So
I
they
met him
knew
over
each
there.
other.
You met over there,
I
okay.
met him over
And
there.
so then he knew Michael Nash, he knew the
Yeah.
dad. And I was
Okay.
like, who is this guy? Like,
Like,
coming
yeah,
up in
where
here.
is
And
he
all of a
coming
sudden
up?
it's like, and I'm
And
like,
you're like, oh, okay, you
You're
know
like,
what? He
okay.
belongs up
I
there.
got like heart eyes. I'm like,
Oh, you
Wow.
you made her fall in love with music.
Con the guitarra,
Yeah,
hijo.
but not with me.
Hashtag
But you know what's
Tito.
funny though? Brielle wasn't like that attracted to me either at first. So
Ooh.
she got attracted to me because of my personality. So I mean, again,
Oh.
I'm not bragging. This is what she said. All right. I'm just saying.
Where's the microphone for Brielle?
So don't feel too bad. You know, it's you know.
It's fine.
But-
yeah, so a couple months went by after that. And then I think he was at IHOP with Chris and someone else.
Okay.
And he was texting me. And then he's like, you know, Chris is telling me that I should just ask you out already.
Oh.
And
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, Chris
Yeah.
is telling you this, huh?
Yeah, I remember because he
Chris
was
was
I
helping me.
remember for a longest time he just goes, ¿Qué hago, hijo? ¿Qué hago? I'm like, honestly, just be yourself. Just be. And then for the longest time he kept saying that. I'm like, dude, all right, yeah, se acabó whatever. You treated her nice. She's responding well. Like, yeah, just ask, just be like, yo, and I told him, what's the worst that can happen? She says no.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. What,
But that's
it's
always
like-
all men growing up. We always had that one
Yeah.
guy that we spoke to. He's like, bro, you think I should ask her out? You think I
Yeah,
should
I get
like
what you're
make a
saying.
move? Like,
And
so-
I understood at that point because I was like, I've been in that predicament before. So
Yeah.
it's just like, at one point, I literally just ask. Like,
that was
just ask
actually
her,
that was
just
actually
ask her.
Justin for me. Justin Barreto
Really?
Oh, okay.
was the
Wow.
one that asked.
Haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah. Justin
you're
Barreto
invited.
told Ashley, Brielle's sister, that I liked her. And that's how kind of things started rolling.
Okay, so Justin Barreto kind of was a catalyst.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Interesting.
I think that's like
And you, Chris, were the catalyst.
kind of.
In
I
my
was at IHOP
relationship.
with you.
Yeah.
I think I do
Yeah.
remember this conversation.
Yeah.
very
And
vividly.
it's
We're
funny.
eating, and I'm like, just do
Look,
it. Like,
just
I
do
just
it.
remembered the day before the wedding, our wedding, you guys also went to IHOP.
Oh my god!
You
yeah,
took
we
him out.
did.
You took me out.
I did. I was like,
It was to
oh.
IHOP, right? I'm not wrong.
I think it was IHOP.
I believe so.
Like,
I'm
full
like,
circle.
hijo, ¿qué
if
vamos
it
a
is.
hacer? ¿Qué vamos a hacer? He's just like,
Para
whatever.
disque la despedida de solteros. I'm like,
Yeah,
Bro,
that was the worst.
our
bachelor
wedding-
party.
our wedding was good.
I was in charge of the bachelor. That was the bachelor party. IHOP. And
Listen,
now
we
your wedding?
for our wedding, we sat down and we're like, yeah, let's just get married at City Hall. Like, what is what it is. Whatever.
yeah.
Let's just get married.
100%.
We were dating for 3 years at that point.
At that point, yeah.
And
so,
I'm not saying, we'll get into this in a little bit, but I'm
Mhm.
not saying that we should have gotten married at that time. I was
Mhm.
19.
Mm-hmm.
I was
He
20.
was 20.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying, yeah, it was the best decision
It's
like,
like,
to
no.
get married right
Mhm.
away. No.
but it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah.
some challenges.
Yeah.
Of
along
course
the
they
way.
are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Always.
So
But-
talk. Like, go ahead. Adam. Mhm.
Sometimes we want to please people because they want to protect their image.
Mm.
Ooh.
So
Oh.
for us, we're like, okay, Jackie's expecting a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I would like to
Spoiler
take.
alert.
We wanted to
It's like,
build up for
really?
this, but
He
he
literally
wanted
just
right to the
like,
punch.
"Hey."
No, it's okay.
We were pregnant. It's like,
And then,
So you guys,
And then-
okay? So wait, so you guys meet in 2010,
Yeah.
yeah.
2013.
Yeah,
Jackie was
Jackie's
pregnant.
I was
yes.
pregnant.
Okay,
Yes, I got
and at this
pregnant.
time, you guys weren't married yet.
No.
Not yet.
Okay, which again,
is a huge.
it's a huge
yeah,
thing
that's
in the
like
church.
the church. Is
That's
like,
In the
whoa.
church, this is like,
So,
yeah.
Based
Mhm.
on what he said, was there like, no, was there? I can't even imagine. I was gonna ask you, was there pressure to maintain a certain image
Oh my
for certain
God.
people?
Yeah.
Well, the,
Yes.
the truth
I
of the
can't
matter is
imagine.
that there was.
Yeah.
It's like,
There was.
Whoa.
There was.
It's like I can't even. No shade, obviously. I
I
can't
don't
even
know.
imagine from your dad's side too. Like,
from I'm
that-
thinking
from
of
that
this
point
like
view,
from
yes.
someone who's not a churchgoer,
Yeah,
has
yeah,
never
yeah,
been
yeah.
to church.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so you got pregnant. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what?
It's like,
Oh,
all right.
and
So
then
what?
you got married. Okay, so what?
Yeah.
Like
Explain
the
that.
the
a little bit.
reason why I said that.
That's our bell. Peaks us here. My wife will get that.
The reason why I said that
I'll be right back. Keep going.
we wanted something small, right? At City Hall, no big deal,
mm-hmm.
low key, something low key, and then it got turned into this big thing. And I personally believe, as much as I'm grateful for what happened at our wedding, like who paid for it and everything, it's not what we wanted. But there was a lot of pressure,
Mhm.
from different parties to
Yep.
get it done and get it done in a specific way, so
Mhm.
that it didn't seem as bad. The situation didn't seem
Yeah.
as bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I-
to someone who's like
Right.
not a churchgoer, was like, okay, you got married, you had a wedding, whatever.
yeah.
But to someone who like grew up in the church, like you can understand that someone
Mhm.
who was pregnant, really young,
Yep. It's
while
the
at
worst of the worst.
church,
It's the
It
worst of the
is.
worst.
It's
Yeah.
like
Is
it's,
this
it's
huge-
seen as a like almost
Yeah,
like as
you're-
a cardinal sin.
Yeah, yeah. You're
It
this
is.
like diabolical person that
Not
it's
all
basically
churches, but yeah.
well, a lot of churches.
Mhm.
A lot of churches, and we got to be honest, right? So
Mhm.
again, when I say these things and we talk again, we'll talk in the podcast a lot about our relationship in church. Understanding this, I want to make this very clear. I do not think that all churches are bad.
Mhm.
I do not think that all Christians are bad and everything. This is just our experiences that we had growing up,
Yeah.
in the church. I love God. I love my relationship with God. I want that to be very, very clear. But yeah, so you guys, were pregnant, and then you felt that, pressure from others because, it seemed like a bad thing. So you guys went ahead and decided to make the decision to get married.
Yeah.
that-
Well, so let's
Was
start,
it was
let's
it like
backtrack a little
entirely
bit.
your decision, or do you think it was more? There was much more pressure on
There was
getting.
much,
Okay,
yes.
so
Yeah.
you were like, and they
So
were like,
let
"You
me
gotta do
backtrack
it."
a little
Yeah.
bit,
Mhm.
so everybody can really comprehend. So I grew up in church my whole life, right?
Mhm.
There was a period of time where my dad was a pastor,
Oh, I didn't
and
know
so
that.
we were a pastor family,
I didn't
whatever.
know that.
That was
I
in
didn't know that.
Guatemala.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So then he financially they made the decision for my dad to come to this country.
Mhm.
I was born here, but we went to live in Guatemala for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
He came over here, so he stopped being a pastor,
Mhm.
obviously. Then we started living here as a family. We went to a really strict church, like really tiny Pentecostal church in Patterson.
Oh my.
And it was like the ladies have to wear skirts, like
Yeah. That's
We
super
went over
Pentecostal.
No
this.
makeup.
Like,
no
episode
shaving.
3, guys.
It's like
Okay.
episode 3. Go down the line.
Jackie is like a viewer of our
Yeah.
podcast.
Avid
She watches
listener.
and listens. Yeah,
She
for
has
sure.
inventory
Yes.
of topics.
But my dad, what I really admire about him, and there's many things. Let me not get into much of
Mhm.
my daddy issues.
Yeah.
But what I admire about him is that he's always willing to learn. So he
Mm.
loves to read. He loves to get knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So that never sat right with him, even though he was a pastor and a strict pastor.
Yeah.
Mm.
It never sat right with him to be legalistic.
Mm.
So
Okay.
he ended up leaving that church and went to Calvary Temple. He was the first one to go to Calvary Temple in the English before any ministry.
Yeah, because there was like
Before anything.
Okay,
no
so he went
people.
first to the English ministry.
Yeah, he was like, let me go check it out a few Sundays and see how it is.
Okay.
He really enjoyed it. The worship, like it was so much different than
Pentecostal. Yeah,
Patterson.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
much more different.
Pentecostal is also it's like a lot of alabanzas. Like
yeah, it's very
Yeah.
it's much more charismatic.
this is like a
I don't even know.
what a move that you'll know if you've been in a
If you've been
Pentecostal
in a
church.
Pentecostal church, you'll understand what
Exactly.
this is.
Okay.
So I was actually sharing this with Boris a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I understand you guys'
Yeah.
point of view because you grew up in that atmosphere, right?
Mm.
But there was a point in time where my parents were not leaders, where they had no positions, and we just went to church,
Mhm.
and it was a few years of a basic fundamental, like
Like
relationship. Like I
Yeah.
got to have a relationship with God on my own without any expectations
Mm.
from anyone, because there was a period of time where were just churchgoers.
Yeah, you're not leaders. You're not.
We
You
were
don't have
nothing.
like.
We
you
just
feel,
went
you,
to church.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
okay.
were just attendees,
And
that's
then as soon as, parents get positions, then that's when the expectations come in and the image, and you have to be a certain way. So I can't really say that I was in a really strict legalistic church and we had legalistic rules at home.
Mhm.
There were some where, like, for example, Halloween. The
Yeah, yeah,
school
yeah.
used to have like a Halloween party for the kids,
My
Not
and
parents
it
allowed.
was
let
like
me
on
go.
a Friday, and there was church on Friday, and it's Halloween. No, you're not going. But I remember
Mhm.
one year I lied, and I was like, "Oh, it's like for like extra help for homework."
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
Mario.
Listen,
Mano
we
Mario.
all did our things to try to like
I've
get
done
into
some- yeah,
specific.
nah.
Well, this is what we spoke about too. The fact that there's certain things, right, that I wouldn't change anything, right, growing up, because again, makes me the man that I am today, right? But there's certain things that when I have kids, that I probably do a little bit different.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I know how that feels.
Yeah.
I know that I don't want to repeat that. I don't want my kid to be able to feel that that he's missing out on certain things.
Yeah, and
Um,
actually, we have, fast forward to now, we have 2 kids, and
Yep. How
and
old are they,
we-
by the way?
They're gonna be 7 and 9,
7 and
and,
9.
the 24th and the 25th.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh
Oh
my
wow.
gosh.
They're
Wait.
one day apart.
On the same on the same month?
Yeah.
Same month.
Wow.
I
That's
remember.
Yeah.
crazy. I didn't know that.
They're 2
Damn.
years apart, but they almost shared.
Wow.
Birthday.
That's
I know.
crazy. Okay.
I've
Yeah.
heard all the jokes about that. So yeah, it grew, like I said, right? You were mentioning I'll never do this with my kids. That's something that we always talked about before even having Jace.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'll never be this way. Like, and the more you say
Mm.
that, like, there's just, if you don't get counseling, right? So go back 2 episodes, guys,
Mm.
about
Mhm.
counseling, and therapy. Like, you won't even realize that you have those childhood traumas.
Mhm.
So I used to say a lot of things like my son has my personality,
Okay.
and we clash a lot of the times because we have the same personality.
Yeah.
So I always used to say, oh, like, I'll never do this because my dad used to do this with me. And then I'll catch myself doing that.
The same
same
thing?
thing I said I wasn't going to do.
Wow.
I'm doing that to my kid. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh. And for me, my biggest thing is I don't like to be vulnerable, and I don't like to apologize.
Mm.
I don't like to admit that I'm wrong.
Gotcha.
Right. So
do you think that was slightly influenced by the upbringing? I felt I've spoken with a couple people and they felt similar, where it's like growing up they were held to such a crazy standard and image
oh yeah.
that it ended up rippling through their lives to the point where they cannot have a constructive conversation, or they cannot admit that something might have been potentially their fault.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it clouds
Yeah.
the judgment, and not only does the trying to keep this perfect image of who you are in church clouding your judgment, it also directly affects the relationship you have with everyone around you, because there are people that will expect that same thing from you, and then there's the other end of the spectrum, the people that realize that you're just as much of a human as anyone else.
Mm.
You know. And I've
Mhm.
always told people, one end of the spectrum is bad, the other end is without the other end, I probably would have left church before, like way before the whole debacle with me happened, with me not attending church regularly.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it was literally because people had this set image of me, and however they received and interpreted that image, they would treat me differently based on that.
Mm-hmm.
That I despised that about
Yeah.
church.
Yep.
I absolutely despised that about church.
Yep.
And it had these like you were saying, these rippling effects where, you know, sometimes in adulthood you're like, wow. When you trace things back, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm doing things because of that.
Yeah, and even like getting ready for this now, I like to prepare. So even though I couldn't really
Mhm.
can't really prepare for
Yeah,
this, but
yeah.
I was like, what are some experiences about the topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And it's just I realized that I grew up to be a people pleaser because I had to maintain that image for
Mm.
my parents who were leaders, right? So I grew up in Calvary almost all of my life.
Mhm.
And there was a point, you know, when you get to your preteens where you kind of start questioning things.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I was being treated way different at home than what my parents were showing at church.
Mm-hmm.
And that hurt me, and I started questioning that.
Yeah.
So I, in all seriousness, I didn't know what depression was until now in my adult life. But I was very, very depressed
Mm.
from like 12 years old, I would say 12 to like 17, 16, 17.
Wow.
To the point where I was like, I don't like, and you know, you grew up in church and you know that, yo, suicide is
wrong.
It's wrong,
you know.
and if you do it,
You
you're
ain't
gonna
going
go to hell,
heaven. You're going to hell.
Mm.
right?
yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to go to hell, but like I don't
Yeah.
want to live either.
Wow.
And so
Uh-huh.
I was like, I had no goal because my parents were like, oh well, if you want to go to, you have to go to college.
Yeah.
But also, we never saved for college for you, so good
Mm.
luck with that. So I was like, what?
I know. Yeah. Yep.
So my plan was like, okay, what's the thing that I can do to get away with this? Like a loophole.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like join the army and go into like the battleground, and if you die, you die. And if you don't die, well, there you go. College is solved for
Wow,
you.
that's crazy.
And so I
So
started
that was
training.
a simple formula, huh?
I was training because, you know, I was a chubby kid all my life, like, and so I started training like freshman, sophomore,
Really?
junior year.
to
I
go
got
to
into
the army.
sports to be fit enough to be in the army
Yeah,
because
okay.
I was like,
That was
Yeah.
your
these are
formula.
the requirements.
That was
Yeah.
literally your formula.
Yeah. So I found a loophole. And then like at 17, when I met Boris, I was like, okay, you know, not because I met Boris, but I feel like a lot of it with depression was like a lot of the exercise that I was doing kept me going.
Yeah,
Because,
that's,
you know,
that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's scientifically proven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was doing sports, I was doing fencing.
Fencing.
Yeah. I know.
Wow.
Weird.
No,
not
that's
weird. I
That's
want
crazy. It's
I
very
want a
rare to hear
lightsaber.
somebody say that they've done fencing. I've never met anybody actually that has
I,
done
never,
fencing. so
I
that's
didn't know that
crazy.
about you, so now I really want to just take a lightsaber out. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah. So that really saved my life, honestly.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I didn't know that I was depressed until I figured out later on. But I
How
attribute
long
that.
after did you figure out? What age did you figure out that you were depressed?
Oh, when did we get counseling? We were 20.
5 years already into our marriage.
So
So we're
24, you were 24.
We're about to be 10 years married this year in December.
Woo,
Wow.
the Big Ten.
What do they call that? Silver, bronze?
I think it's 15.
I don't
then
know.
they
Yeah, I
go
think it's like
This is not
15 and
League
then
of
30.
Legends, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Whoops.
I have no idea.
Okay.
But it wasn't until we got counseling, which had more to do with we got marriage counseling,
Mhm.
Okay.
but it had more to do with ourselves
Yeah.
than our actual marriage. And so
Yeah.
I'm just giving you guys a background. Sorry, babe, that you haven't been able to talk. But like,
No.
again, I grew up in church, right?
Mhm.
Everybody knew me at church. Jackie, I joined the worship team. I was very involved with the youth.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, dealing with the depression and stuff like that. So,
Which I would have
I-
never guessed, by the way.
right.
No, I
Which
would have
is-
never guessed
it's
either.
like
I don't
this-
think anybody would have.
This
No.
is why I really okay. I've mentioned this before. I will continue to mention it. It's very important to me that everybody knows the reasoning behind this podcast.
Mm.
I love that you're expressing that, and thank you by the way for sharing, because I know that sometimes that's not easy. But it is such therapy just to be able to talk about it, just to be able to talk about the struggles, because other people can relate to that,
Yeah.
you know, and that's important to me. And the whole reason why this podcast exists, honestly. So anyway, thanks for sharing. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
absolutely. So at 17, I met Boris, and it was like my first real relationship. And for some reason, I still can't wrap my head around this. And we talk about it from time to time. And this is why Boris was a little skeptical about coming on, because he's like, I don't want to like say names and make it seem like I'm still bitter about it.
You're not.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was just a couple of people in leadership who were just so against our relationship that at the time was a very healthy,
Was it my dad?
simple.
No, let's not call
You could
names.
say,
Let's not
yeah,
call names. No
yeah,
names. No names.
Dad.
Mhm.
I'm just kidding.
Go
No
ahead.
names, but okay.
It was just, it wasn't one person.
Oh, I
It was
multiple
a
people.
group
Yeah,
of
multiple
people.
Yeah.
So much so that they ended up coming to my house. I'll never forget. They came to my house. A group of the leaders came to my house, uninvited and unannounced. And I opened the door and I'm like, "Oh, hi, how are you guys?" And they were like so cold. And I was like, "Oh, is your dad home?" And I was like, "Yeah, come on in." And I was like, "Dad, such and such are here." Like, and he's like, So they sat him down in the living room and they flat out told him, "Hey, we don't like that Jackie is having a relationship with Boris. And we would like for you to enforce rules in this house so that she can stop seeing Boris." And I was like, my mind was blown. And that
Wow.
made me so angry with the church. You have no idea. Because obviously, right, we come from the same place. Like, we all got hurt by people at the church who were leaders, right? And
Yeah.
you expect these leaders to be mature enough and
Well,
an
I
example
never
to
did.
others.
Yeah, these
right?
are the people
why
that
it
are
makes my blood
supposed to
boil.
guide you and teach you to have a better relationship with God.
Right.
And sometimes, unfortunately,
They do the opposite.
they do the opposite.
Yeah. So honestly, for me,
It's true.
that was the breaking point. And I was texting Boris at that time, and I'm like, "Babe, like these such and such are here, and I can't believe it. Like, they're telling my dad this and this and this."
That's crazy.
So much so that my family, who were deacons at the time, they're
Yeah.
like, they decided to step down, and I felt guilty because I was like,
Yeah,
Oh
the
my
guilt
goodness.
falls on you
Going
because
on?
of the
Pressure,
image. Yeah.
Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah. I can't.
And then my dad sat down with me after they left, and they're like, "Jackie," because they were already against me having a boyfriend because I'm like the
Okay.
last kid and I'm the only
Yeah, and
daughter.
yeah.
And then I'm dating a guy, and then they have certain expectations about who I should date, blah, blah, blah. Right? But at this moment, my dad was just like calm, and he's like, "You know what? If you want to decide, if you and Boris want to decide that you no longer want to be part of the Spanish ministry, I'm going to let you.
Because,
With one condition."
okay,
right?
go ahead.
He's like, "I still want you to be involved in ministry." So I was in the worship team, right? And in the youth, so young adults. So he's like, you still need to
Active.
show me that you're going to be active in this. And so we decided to leave, but he would pop in once in a while to make sure that I was actually at church up until I was 18. And then it was more like, that was like the final days of my relationship with church. I was like so disappointed, so hurt. And I was like, you know what?
Wait. So
Peace.
cause I kind of want to make sure that I'm getting all of this. So when this happened, right? Your dad and mom stepped down from being deacons in the church.
Yeah.
And they left the church.
No, they still attended the
They
church.
still attended the church,
Yeah.
but they wanted you also to attend the church as well, but be part of the, the leadership and
So
everything.
they wanted, I was only in worship team and going to youth.
Yeah.
Right? And I was doing that at the Spanish ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me, if you want to leave the Spanish ministry,
And go to the Anglo,
go
to the English ministry.
one,
You be a
but
leader there.
still,
Be a
no,
part
I
of
was
the.
not a leader.
You
So
know,
I
no, I'm
was
saying
just
like
Just
you know.
participate.
Yeah,
like, be in the
participate.
worship team.
Participate, yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I want to see that you're still going to church if I give you this
Basically.
option.
Okay.
Because I see how hard they're being for no reason.
Yeah.
So even my dad, who you know as well, but like, he's a very, very strict person.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Right,
and even
very
he saw
serious.
straight through that.
Yeah.
So
stuff.
he's like, for him to say that to me, I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy then. So
Okay.
they are being unfair.
No,
So he
that,
kinda-
to me,
so
that sounds completely whoever. And if these people are listening, honestly, shame on you. I hope you bury your head in the sand and think about what you did, because that is by far the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. How dare you come and interfere into someone's household? That to me is blasphemous. You don't go to someone else's household and tell them how to run their family despite your beliefs.
I feel like
Yeah.
you're.
I don't like that.
I feel like you're
I
going
don't.
down the worst part of what one of the worst sins, which is judging others.
Mhm.
It's very easy, right? So this year, I feel like I repeat a lot of things in the podcast, but that's fine. But this year, I set a goal to read the whole Bible for the first time. Never read it the
nice.
whole thing. We're all familiar with books and the Bible and everything. A lot of stories that I'm reading, I'm like, yeah, I know about this, whatever. But I've never read the whole entire Bible. And I wanted to do this because I feel like throughout the years that I've been in church, right, I've had certain experiences, and I've had similar experience, not that intense. But it has taken me away from, I feel like, a relationship that I could have potentially had sooner with God. And it upsets me. It upsets me because one of the things that really, really get me upset too is not knowing certain things. And when somebody comes to me and asks me something about the Bible and I don't have the answer, that boils my blood. Bro, that boils my blood. So I made this goal to do this. And it was all because, again, I feel like I should have known all of this, but there's certain feelings that I had when I was younger that I was like being pushed away from, like not reading the Bible and not doing certain things, because I felt like I was like, why should I do this?
You do it out of spite, right?
Yeah,
So,
I was like, why should I do this? I feel like God is supposed to be this great person that people talk about, but the people that talk about it are so judgmental, are so harsh, and it pushes people away. We need to be better.
Yeah.
We need to be better. And I say we because I don't think that I'm perfect. So I say we need to be better with with introducing people to God in general.
Oh yeah.
Because again, all of this has happened to us, thankfully, hasn't pushed us away from God. Maybe it did in the past, but right now we're still anchored, right? And I consider ourselves lucky to be able to be in this position where we're still, but there's people that don't get that. There's people that completely leave the church, completely.
Yeah, and it's because of similar, if not same, scenarios that you guys have had.
Yeah.
I've said for many, many, many years to my parents, you guys know my parents, and leadership and church and even people up the ladder of Assemblies of God, and I'm not afraid to throw names. I really am not. I've told people multiple times, the problem with the church has always been Exhibit A or Example A. A woman or a young lady gets pregnant either out of wedlock or before she gets married or something. All of a sudden, you don't see her. Why don't you see her anymore?
Yeah.
Why? Because she's obviously going to feel ostracized. She doesn't have people that reach out to ask her, you know what, how are you feeling? How's the baby doing? How
Yeah.
many weeks are you?
Yeah.
That maybe they'll mention and ask you what happened, but you can tell they're asking you what happened out of concern for you and your mental well-being and your emotional well-being. As opposed to the other end where it's like, oh, what happened? You're not
Like,
right.
what were
with
you
God.
thinking,
know what I'm saying?
or like something like that,
No,
yeah.
what were you thinking?
We had
when,
people ask, like when I got pregnant with Jace,
Mhm.
they were asking to know the gossip.
The
It
chisme.
wasn't just for my well-being or the babies or
yeah.
whatever. It was just
Yeah.
Like, how did this happen? How did?
How
Yeah,
did-
yeah.
like,
Like, how did
how?
you guys
Say
allow this to
names.
happen?
Yeah.
How can this?
So stupid.
Yeah.
And we can go into another turn with that too. Like how did a young lady who grew up in the church get pregnant, right?
Mhm.
Like we don't
In
we
the
don't
first
talk
place,
about
we don't talk. We demonize sex, sexual
Yes.
intercourse, the fact that it can
Exactly.
happen. And I've said this. The reason why I jumped in immediately is I've said this for years since high school, because in high school I was part of this program that they had was like teen. It was called like prevention education program, Teen Pep or something like that, and we essentially went around teaching other high schoolers. Like we were mentored, but we would teach other high schoolers and talk about sex, sexual intercourse, being safe, etc., etc. And part of me not only believes that, but knows that if we spoke about things like that, and we would make it less of a taboo,
Yeah, not be
And,
afraid.
yeah, and
Mhm.
not be afraid. I've had countless conversations in other churches and even in my parents' church with youth, young adults, and individuals, and I consistently bring these topics up because I know it's going to be a part of their lives that people do not talk about, even their parents.
Mm.
So you know, I it's not that I bring it upon myself, but I've been saying it for years. The more you demonize certain subjects, the more people are going to potentially feel ostracized if something happens surrounding such topics,
Yeah.
right? And the more there's a higher chance of them becoming disgruntled with the church, and not just with churches, with people in general and God. You know, being
Right.
disgruntled with the church is not. I'm not downplaying what happened to you, but being disgruntled from the church is like, all right, whatever, no big deal. As long as, like you stated, you're not disgruntled with God or something like that.
But it can happen.
But it can happen.
happen
I'm
through
not
all of
saying
that.
it can't.
Yeah.
But I tell people all the time, you could potentially be the same stumbling rock that you're not supposed to be for other people, for that one person that feels judged and ostracized and put down.
Mhm.
Last I remember, when someone's down, like someone's down and someone has problems, you don't stomp on them further. Last I remember.
Right.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
for sure.
unfortunately, I don't know where people's wires cross, and that happens. And sometimes, not sometimes, you see that a lot happen. A lot of that happen in the church because of, again, the subjects at
lack of-
hand.
Yeah.
The lack of
Wanting
education, the
to
lack of
reach out. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, what is that?
And
it
just
gets me-
understanding in general, like just
mhm.
being able to understand that these people
Mhm.
are human beings.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so also going to Boris a little bit. How was that all that process that Jackie spoke about for you as well? Like what was going through your mind in all this, and what happened?
Oh, jeez.
Did you get, like, knowing you for so many years? I'd imagine that it must have been extremely not only upsetting, but it probably made your blood boil. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you guys doing? You know.
So I try to understand, why they will judge a 17 and 18-year-old.
Yeah.
We will rarely hold hands. Walk around the church.
Mhm.
And I remember hearing these comments when Jackie was telling me. I was like, why would they say something like this? And for me, it's my first relationship as well. I've never had a girlfriend before, so it's like, she's a great person. She's really nice. And okay, so after that, I remember that because of this bad comment, they started to pushing me away. So
they started to
So-
treat you differently as
Yes,
well.
yes.
Oh wow, they flipped the script on you basically.
yes, so
Wow.
I was considered the bad person pretty much, and
Like the one responsible.
the one responsible
for
For
all-
corrupting
Yeah,
you.
for
For
corrupting me,
corrupting
yes.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Wow.
So I was,
Wow.
first of all, I'm alone in this country at that time. My parents were not here. I have no family. One of my uncles like in Queens, but what does he know? So I was by myself, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of pressure on me right now, so I don't know how to handle it. I'll probably reach out to my dad, and he's like, oh, that's just child's play or something like that. But
So your dad,
Your dad said about the people that's just them being children, like there's child's play.
that's
Honestly, that's why. If you would have told me that, I probably would have said the same. Aside from reacting very negatively, I would have said the same thing.
So your
I
dad
would
was
have said the same
supportive.
thing.
This
no.
Wouldn't
No.
say
No.
100%
Okay.
supportive.
No, so but then when Jackie Jackie got pregnant, I started getting also all these attacks and
So mind you, after that incident, right? I'm sorry to cut you off,
Yeah.
babe. We stopped going to church for a while,
yes.
Okay.
and we were just doing our own thing.
I
Yeah.
do remember that.
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
time were
For a
you
little
guys
bit.
living together?
No,
No.
we
No.
never
No.
lived together
Okay.
like
No.
that.
Okay.
But he was living alone.
Okay.
Finally, he had like his own room and
Yeah.
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 And I was living by myself already, so like we didn't care anymore. It's like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember like we had a meeting in Pasiguito, your dad, you were there, I was there, and we sat down at the table and said, okay, so what are we gonna do? So I remember my father-in-law, he looked at me in the eyes, and I thought he was gonna kill me.
And this was
I
he's
thought-
talking about when they found out I was
Oh,
pregnant.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
okay,
okay.
okay,
So this
okay.
is
Yeah.
Sorry,
you
my
sat
mistake.
down with Pastor Guido, with Chris's dad.
When
With-
everybody found out, it was like a bomb exploded. So
yeah.
you forgot to mention the part. So we stopped going to church, and then I got pregnant. I found out in June that I was pregnant because I was like,
Yeah.
And then in August, we started looking for a church because we were like, I don't know why.
wait. Hold on. Because now I'm okay. So you guys didn't leave because you guys were pregnant, and we guys
No.
you guys left because they didn't think that you guys should have been
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Right.
They were like,
Yes.
Boris is corrupt.
Which
They
pushed us
legit.
more
They-
to
I
be more
remember that.
private.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you
Then-
guys left, and
Yeah.
then after you guys left, that's when you guys became
Right.
pregnant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And then,
okay.
then when
care.
I was pregnant, I was like, okay, we're gonna have to take this seriously, like as people, as partners, and as parents now.
Mhm.
Mm.
So my first reaction was like, we need to go back to church, because like I said, I had that basic fundamental like a foundation from when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned to have that relationship with God on my own.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, my first instinct was to go back to church. So we started
course.
looking. We found one, which is the one we go to now, in August 2013. And the people there knew us. So immediately they're like, musicians,
Get them on. Get them on stage.
get up, get up.
Right away. We
Right.
started
Well,
They had no
at this
idea I was
time
pregnant.
Norris the pastor in the church?
Yeah.
She
Okay,
was-
okay, gotcha.
But
Yeah.
she didn't know that Jackie was pregnant, and
Right.
we hid it from.
Okay.
We hit it. I don't
From-
know
from-
why.
from
Well,
that-
we were scared.
Yeah,
of
of
course,
course.
yeah,
Something-
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I knew that I was doing something wrong.
Mm.
Okay, plain. For me, I believe that the altar is a sacred. It's a sacred place.
Mhm.
You know. So, but I knew that I was wrong. But that desire to worship and
Was still there.
It was still there, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like I was trying to help as much as I can. Jackie playing the piano, man. We're so excited. And then we're like, you know, the bed is getting bigger. We cannot hide it anymore.
I was going to my
And-
appointment, so I was being very responsible, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Going to my appointments, whatever. But I was still covered under my parents' insurance. So
Oh, wow.
a bill declaring all of my rights, right, came to the house, and they were already like suspecting something, right?
Oh,
Yes,
my
So
God.
it came to the house. My parents opened my mail.
Of
You
course.
You know how parents give you your mail?
Yeah.
It's already
yeah.
open, and like mail came for you.
Oh.
Toma.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Toma,
they
yo lo
know.
leí. It's
They're
like-
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Oh, wow.
Pregnancy?
Yeah.
Blood work? What?
Really?
That's where.
And I was by
Oh my
myself. I was
God.
playing League of Legends, bro.
No
was like,
way.
Can I finish this game and then we'll talk
Oh
about
my
it?
Give me
gosh.
15 minutes,
Oh my
please.
We all play
Yeah.
the same game together. Yeah.
It's like, we can't hit pause on this game. I'm sorry.
And then
Oh my goodness. So this is how your parents found out.
Yeah,
It was
and
through
he
this letter.
was at work, and I was, for some reason, I blamed him. I was like, this is Boris' fault for not being here when I need him right now.
You
So
were
they
pregnant.
found out that same day, their pastor came to the house, your dad.
Okay.
Our pastor came, no, they told
No,
us to
no.
meet with our pastor.
Mm.
So then they met with Boris, whatever. Boris told his dad. His dad said,
let me say, he's like, screw everything. If they keep bothering you, they keep giving you all these bad messages and all that. Just leave her there, man, and come back to Ecuador and start from zero.
Oh, he was telling you to leave Jackie
Yes.
here and go back to zero in
But-
Ecuador.
But you
So-
know why? Because no one tried to support me too. You know, like, okay,
Mm.
you know what? I made a mistake. You know,
Yeah.
okay, but let's try to resolve. You know, but
Mm.
no, they're like, oh, you are at fault, and I wish like
Oh, no,
I never knew you and things like that.
Wow.
Okay,
Mm.
yeah.
but my dad's like, "Shh,
Just run away.
you're a man. Like, you know,
Mm.
like that racist, not racist,
Sexist.
Sexist, yeah.
He's like, you're a man. You can come here. Just leave it in there. Screw it.
Mm.
And I was like, no.
Mm.
I was like, no. I'm going to take care of this child.
Yeah.
I'm going to be with Jackie because I
Yeah.
love her.
Mhm.
I'm going to be a responsible parent.
Yep.
Mm.
And we're going to raise this kid together.
Together, yeah.
And he was like, well, that's what you want to do. All right.
Peace.
Well,
I remember
And
you asking
luck.
me.
It was-
Really?
So he
It was-
just
Yeah.
at that point he was like, you don't want to listen to my advice. Now good luck.
No,
or,
because
or-
no, it's not, it wasn't like that. It's
Okay.
just pretty much if I get like a lot of bad help me
he
out.
was just telling you basically get ready for what's about to happen. Basically.
Yeah,
He's
kinda
like, you
like
could
that.
you could
Yeah.
have you could have come over here and avoided that. Basically,
Kind of like
he's
that.
trying to tell
Mhm.
No,
you.
Yeah.
but also he said if you cannot handle it, just come
leave.
here.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
leave.
Okay.
Then
Like a
my
cop-out.
my mom called me and she's like, "Well, that's what you get."
When you
That's all your
let
fault.
heart
Mm,
go.
yeah.
And then she's like, "Now you have to be a responsible man now."
Yeah, you have to be a man.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Mom,
So this
I'm
is
scared.
we're already
Yeah.
taking church a little bit more serious now, and we felt extremely guilty,
Mm.
not for being pregnant, right?
Yeah.
But guilty because we were lying.
Mm.
Yes.
Of course,
Because
of
Yes,
course.
we
Yeah.
needed
We
that
were lying.
healing first before being put anywhere up on
Yeah,
stage.
Yeah.
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 And that's what a lot of churches don't do, and this is why we have these judgmental leaders.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's because they hurt people.
Yes.
Right?
It's true.
And you can come to church and not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way.
Yeah, and it's
Mm.
So
also
you
not
gotta
okay.
realize I have issues and I need to work.
yeah,
them.
Yeah. Before anything else, I have issues.
Yes.
You know, that's
You
Yeah.
point
what-
your fingers on yourself, like, and then even the Bible says that, like, seek me first, Lord, right?
Mhm.
Seek me first, like whatever is in me that you don't want, take it
Mm.
out first, because
Yeah.
I cannot be judging other people.
Yeah.
And like there's another verse that says that, right? I can't see, oh, you have a speck in your eye, but I have like a whole tree in mine.
Mhm. Yeah,
Right?
yeah. No, it's true. It's like that's the same saying with like even going out of biblical terms, like in an airplane, right? If the mask comes down, you're
Mhm.
supposed to help yourself,
Help yourself
before
before
you
you
help
help
anybody
someone
else,
else.
because you know it's gonna.
Correct.
You can't do
So
that.
I completely
you can't pour
get
from
that.
an
Yeah.
empty cup.
Yeah.
So then that's when we get these judgmental leaders, because we don't focus on getting people healed before they take these positions, right?
Mm.
And so the pressure started coming in left and right. And we were sitting down and talking to our pastor at the time, and she was like, well, if they want you guys to get married, isn't that the most awful thing for you guys? You guys
Who was
been
saying
dating
that?
our pastor.
Your pastor, okay.
Yeah. And we were dating at this point for 3 years. We were
Mhm.
together.
Mm.
But we were still young, right? So they're like, is it the most worst thing in the world
The
if you
worst
guys
thing,
do
yeah.
get married?
Mm.
And so we looked at each other and both like, you want to get married?
Sure.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, all right.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
City
to
Hall.
us, it was
Good.
going to be like this simple City Hall,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah, just something between you guys.
we just
yeah.
wanted to do
Yeah.
it.
But
Mm.
then when everybody was like, okay, so what do you want to do? Like, you have to get married. This is something you have to do. It's wrong if the child is born out of wedlock. It's a sin, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And we were like so scared, like, yes, oh my God,
We-
like
we were
freaking
really
out.
scared.
We're kids.
Yeah.
We're kids. So this is why now we say, like, if we had the choice, we would not get married at that point.
Mm.
Yeah,
We
that
would
early.
do
Yeah.
more.
because
Probably
because
waited.
marriage
Healing.
Yeah.
I was not I was actually talking to someone else about this not too long ago. Marriage is a people are like, oh, I don't believe in marriage. I'm like, that's probably because you don't believe in commitment. But anyway, honestly, you know,
You're
it's
lying.
serious. It's serious because
Wow.
the marriage is a very serious thing.
Yeah.
So I understand when you say you're like, at that point in time, we probably wouldn't have done it because the amount of commitment and what you say when you get till death do us part, it is a
Like, for
ginormous
me,
promise.
speaking for me personally, like, you don't know the weight of those words that you're saying, because we were just focused on one thing: getting it
married,
Yeah.
getting it right,
Yeah,
getting
you
right,
don't
making it
know.
right for
Yeah.
the baby.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
you have like all these voices in your head that you're trying to figure out which one is right.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're trying to figure out what's what's right for God.
Yeah.
So this had oh my
So
I
the
can't imagine
pressure,
how
and
how
then
much it would've-
after we
and
decided,
you're pregnant too. Oh my god.
yeah, after we decided we're gonna get married, then it was like, okay, we gotta make this look better. Like, what do you mean City Hall? We gotta do it at a venue. We gotta do this big thing, and then
Mm.
no
Oh,
limo and this and
that's
that.
why that happened.
Yes.
Because I always wondered why that happened. Like the actual. I'm like, you guys are already married though. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
So
it's-
we didn't get married at City Hall.
Oh, you ended up
Oh, you
not
didn't.
getting married at City
No.
Hall. It was
Oh.
through
We
the
got
church.
married at the church.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you did.
Honestly, we tried to get married at City Hall
We
first.
did.
Mm-hmm.
The ladies were super judgmental. They saw me with my belly. I said I was 19. We wanted to get married. They're like, no. And honestly,
Wait, what?
No, where? Who's this?
Honestly,
Agatha
this
from
was-
Wayne? Yeah, I'm just kidding. Anyway, let me stop. Go down to City Hall and Wayne. Actually
honestly,
find an Agatha.
now, like, I was always so bitter about that. I'm like, why didn't you just mind their own business and just give me
Wow.
the papers? They were like super, really
but they were
nasty.
probably protecting.
But honestly, yes.
they were probably the
Yes.
Yeah, they saw that they saw like,
hello?
the,
You
maybe
need
like
to do something first here. Like,
It's like, hold on.
I don't
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
know what
Give
you're
birth
doing.
first.
Yeah.
Then come back.
Right.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. I
But
remember
yeah,
that.
we
Oh my
we did
gosh.
it anyways.
Wow.
Like I said, we're about
Wow.
to be 10 years married. We had 2 kids. We had Jace, and honestly, that was like the most what's the word?
Impactful.
Trialing? Is that a word?
Like,
When
it
you're
was-
put on trial.
The most like maybe difficult times or
It was
or
very, very difficult because our first, we were really young.
Yeah, of
No
course.
experience.
No
I always
experience of
told
nothing.
him, and I always said when I was younger, I don't want any kids. Like I did
Mm.
not like kids.
Mm.
Okay.
I could stand them like working like with
Yeah,
the kids
like,
or
yeah.
the youth, whatever, but not
Mhm.
my own.
Mm.
And then I had Jace, and I was like, oh my god, like
My spawn.
he had issues. You had issues.
Same.
What were some of
Um,
your
connecting.
issues?
I couldn't connect.
Mm.
So that
Mhm.
was traumatizing for me.
You couldn't
I-
connect with your
I-
child.
What was traumatizing was the colic, honestly.
Our son had a lot of issues with passing gas.
Mm.
So like we didn't know what he had, And then I remember like texting Jackie one time, "Hey, I don't want to hurt the baby because
He would get upset
because
from
I
the
would
crying.
lose my
It was
my head.
constant
Too much.
crying. It
Mm.
was
Well,
crying
yeah.
for
And
colic
hours.
issues.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
worked the 3rd shift,
Yeah.
so it was
Oh
up
my
to
even
me
worse.
God.
It
Wow.
was-
to deal. Well, most of the time it was up to me to deal with the
Yeah.
baby
Okay.
Yeah,
all
I
hours, and
imagine.
we lived with my parents.
I remember that.
So my parents would come in the
Oh.
room and kind of blame me. You're not doing enough for the
You're not-
baby.
yeah,
You should
you're
be
not doing this right.
And it was
Mm.
like it was
That must
pretty
have
much
been-
hell.
That must have been
Wow.
even
Yeah.
worse because so not only are you receiving pressure from getting married, being pregnant, all these things, now you're receiving pressure after giving birth. You're not doing things right.
Right? Yeah.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
my
man.
God.
So then,
Yeah.
Ouch.
what do you think? I guess some of the difficulties that you guys went through, besides the one that you just mentioned. Now, once you had the kids, like, was it difficult? Like the marriage for you guys self? How was the relationship between you guys?
I mean, once we finally figured it out, how to get out of my parents' house, be
Mhm.
on our own,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And make our own traditions, our own way of raising the kids and stuff like that. It was hard for us because we're like, okay, it's just a routine. We
Mhm.
already know what to do with the
Uh-huh.
kids.
Mhm.
Go to work, come back, but it was like, who are we?
Mhm.
Though, because we never
Mm.
went through that phase in our 20s. You know?
Yeah. You never went through the getting all these crazy things out and finding yourself per se.
Yes.
You know, your
Yeah,
college,
so- Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
years or whatever.
It was
I don't
all
know.
kind of rushed.
Yeah,
It was
Yeah, it was all
everything.
kinda
It was like a
rushed. Yeah.
crash
Once-
course. Here you go. You are parents.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
I remember getting desperate because I just started working at Fisk in
Yeah.
Hawthorne.
Mm-hmm.
I started in January 2014, and Jackie was due in February.
Oh my
Mm.
God.
And I'm like, well, I'm getting paid $10 an hour here. I'm like, I can make it somehow,
Yeah.
you know. But then I remember a month passed, they gave me $1 raise,
Mm.
and then 3 months passed, and then another $1 raise, and I
Mm.
was like, I can do this. Okay,
Mm.
fine. But Jackie was due in February, so I'm like, I go back to my supervisor. Hey, I would like to have some days off. He's like, what? You're crazy? You just started.
Wow.
Mm.
Because I don't want Jackie to be alone.
Of
Mm.
course.
You know, and I want to bond with the baby and all that stuff. I don't know how long I took off. You remember?
It was a week, I think, before you went back to work.
So then so HR called me, Boris, take as much time as you need. So I'll take a week. I was like, oh, sure. So they use all my sick days, vacation days, everything.
Everything.
I'm like,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what? It's okay. I'll take it.
Okay.
But through all that phase, that Jackie and I went through, man, what really helped us was getting out of our in-laws' house. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, you set your own rules.
Yeah.
And we were able to breathe again,
Mm.
Mm.
But then, like she was saying, feeding the kids, taking care of them, buying things for them, everything just became them. And what about us?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
that's where you lose yourself, and you're like, I don't know you. It's like
Mhm.
we're so busy with the kids, and I don't sit down with you and talk about us.
Mhm.
And
No,
then
that's
meanwhile,
rough. That's rough.
and
That's-
something also that really helped us was that this was paid for by the church. Our
Oh,
marriage
the
counselor.
The-
Your
the marriage counselor.
Yes.
So wait, was it advised by the church to you guys to get counseling, or was it something that
We-
you guys talked
we
about
were
and then
doing
they?
really, really bad during our marriage. Like there was just a point where it was like he was talking and I was talking. And it was like we were talking at the same time and nobody was being heard, listened to, or understood.
And
And
at
we're like-
this point, how old was Jace?
Ooh,
So you already had Jason Leia?
yeah.
Okay,
and
so
we
you
had
already had
both of them.
both of them at
Yeah,
that time.
because
Okay.
okay.
we already we had Jace. We moved out for a little bit. We had to move back in with my mom, and I was pregnant with Leah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I remember
Okay.
that.
So Leah was born, and then we were there for 2 years before we were
Mhm.
able to move out again.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay.
So then once we moved out, I guess that was like Jace was like 5,
Mm.
Yes.
5-ish,
4 or 5,
6-ish?
I think.
Okay.
Yes.
4 or 5, yes, because
4
we
or
were
5.
still in Patterson.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just like we were,
Pumping.
clashing, and
Yeah.
then.
Mhm.
We mentioned to our pastor at the time, which was a different pastor, because a lot of things went down at the church.
Mhm.
And we're like, we don't know what's going on. He
Yeah.
believes this. And I believe, even in our faith, our relationship with God, it was like, he's believing something else now. Even though we both go to the same church, we both have the same pastor, this and that. Now we're both like, and that was due to, we had our pastor and we had beliefs, right?
Mhm.
And it was like a very Hispanic belief.
Mhm.
And then it transformed into an English church. So like the
Mm.
American Western standard of
Mm.
faith with God is way different than a
Yeah.
Latino
Mhm.
relationship
Yeah.
with God,
Mhm.
right? So culturally,
It's different.
and it was a culture shock for
Of
us.
course.
Yeah.
And we saw things that made us question our faith entirely. Even though we
Mm.
considered ourselves by that time already like mature Christians.
Yeah.
And we were in leadership and all that.
Mm.
Mhm.
And we're like, kind of like, help. Like,
yeah.
but we had made this house of cards, right? And then all of a sudden that was knocked down, and we had to start over
From the beginning.
from scratch.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because we were now questioning things like, I was always told this was wrong, but now you're telling me that biblically, it's not.
It's not that it's okay.
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
And a good example with that, so we're transparent here, is
Mhm.
drinking, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
All our life, drinking is
Off,
Back.
yeah. For me
Yeah.
too, it was like
Yeah.
don't even look at that
Don't even
bottle.
look at
don't
it.
do that.
If you
How
know
dare
someone that
you?
has that, you
They
can't
need
be friends with
help.
them.
Can't
Yeah,
talk to them. You
yeah.
can't.
They're
Yep.
in
No
sin.
relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. Not
Mhm.
even one sip, this and that. And
No
Sorry.
shimmy, no shimmy.
and so he, not same thing. No alcohol, this and that.
Yeah.
And now we're in this American church where we get invited to someone's house and they have a full liquor cabinet.
Mm.
And they
And
have
we're
wine.
there
You're like,
like,
wait, what? It's
Wait.
happening here.
Yeah, yeah. I've
you
seen
have
it
a
too,
liquor
yeah.
cabinet? Isn't this a sin?
Yeah.
Pastor, what is going on? And
Yeah.
they're
We-
leaders?
yeah.
What?
Yeah, what,
We
what-
had
Yeah.
a lot of
it's,
issues. Ooh.
I
Mm.
can't even imagine because that was
Oh,
the same way,
man.
raised the same way.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
might raise controversy, right? Like
might.
everything,
Yeah.
everything
Well,
will.
who cares? Yeah.
This
Right,
is,
but-
this is why it's important, right, to talk about it, because the message that, at least for me, that I would want people to know is that you need to have your own relationship with God.
Mhm.
You cannot worry about everybody else's relationship because your own relationship will get tarnished.
Mhm.
So you need to learn how to build that relationship on your own way, right? And you'll find out, you'll figure it out. Trust me, if you decide to try to get closer to God, he will guide you and he will teach you exactly what's wrong
Yep.
and what's right, and nobody has to tell you anything.
Right. So
Yeah.
we started questioning, and then the pastor was very, very patient with us because we were nasty at that point. Like,
You were like, "Que-
and
que-
we
que
told them
pecado."
years later,
Yeah.
we're like, we were wrong. We're really sorry about that, and now we know.
Mm.
But it was like, now we've had a drink,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Mm.
After years of like, oh my God, this is a sin. I can't believe I'm gonna go
Yeah.
to hell if I even try this and that, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, the Bible says, don't get drunk.
Yeah,
Right?
no, se
Mhm.
embriagues,
But you
don't
know
get
what?
drunk.
Even after trying a sip of this, sip of that, we're like, oh my God, how do
Mm.
people drink this?
Mhm.
It's not for us.
Yeah.
Doesn't
So we
taste
decided,
good.
like, nah, we're.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're okay with
But
that.
that's because we don't like it.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Not
Mhm.
because some
Because you're not allowed to do
religious
it.
person
So
said we're
you-
not
yeah.
allowed
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
It's your own personal choice.
And
Yes.
that might be a controversy, but that's, our pastors know about that already. And it's like,
Mhm.
you know what? We're fine with it, with
Yeah.
our faith. And like you were saying, right? That's something also that I want to try with the kids is everybody has their own purpose. And my job as a parent, I think you would agree, babe, is to make sure that the kids have a relationship with God.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
their own relationship, not
Yes.
mine.
Not your relationship.
Correct.
How
That's-
to have your own relationship, because
Yes.
you know, if I am a Christian and I go to heaven, doesn't mean my kids will go to heaven
Right.
too,
Mhm.
right? Everybody has their own independent relationship,
Mhm.
and I believe that it's up to the Holy Spirit to convict you of certain things,
Yeah.
Yes.
but you have to be willing. Like, Lord, help me understand, is this right or wrong for me, right?
Yeah.
And then if the Holy Spirit is like, even though it's not wrong,
Mhm.
I don't want it for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right,
I get-
and
I
then-
got- I think that's
And then
extremely
that's up to
important.
you.
Yeah, that's
if
up
you
to you.
say, you know
Exactly.
what, you're telling me that it's wrong, God, but I'm still gonna do it, then you're sinning,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Yeah.
But if you're saying, oh Lord, you know what, I know that you know what's best for me, so
Mm.
you and me have this relationship, so if you're saying this, it's for a reason, and I'm gonna believe that.
Mhm.
Okay, if you're saying no, then no, it's not for me.
Yeah.
And I believe that it's like that for everybody, and I don't want to get in the way of my kids' relationship with God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
I
way
agree.
maybe our parents or our leaders interfere with ours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is my question to kind. I think that we're gonna have to have you guys back.
Again, yeah. This is
Because
you and
there's a lot of
out.
things that I want to talk about, and
Yeah.
that I want to keep going. But I know they have kids; they got places
Yeah,
to be.
yeah.
So this is well, kind of close with this, and I'll ask you both the same question. What do you think is the best advice that you guys have? So for someone that may be going through the same thing that you guys went through when you were younger, how to deal with that? How to deal with maybe having a baby, being pregnant while being at church at a young age, and how to deal with your marriage.
Well, definitely the first thing is to seek for help. Counselors are a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, counselors are supposed to be like a shame thing that you do.
Yeah.
Mental
Because-
health.
Yeah, it's like
overall.
mental
Yeah.
health
Yeah.
was
Wow.
stigmatized.
You know,
Like, you don't need no counselor.
You go to a counselor.
You're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a human like you. I was like,
Mhm.
what?
Mhm.
But definitely seek help first. For me, what helped after, I guess, knowing the pastor also would be good to get close to a pastor if you can, because they're not gonna judge you. Well, depends. You know, some
Mhm.
pastors,
Yeah, depends. Right.
Some pastors will come and hug you, and keep you under their wings,
Mhm.
you know, and guide you. I think that's what helped us.
Okay. What about you, Jackie?
I've always liked to work with youth, like teenagers. And I know parents with teenagers are like, take mine. They always tell me, take my kids. I don't want them. You can deal with them.
Talk of them.
But I was the youth leader at my church for several years. And one thing that I know really helped them was for me to just listen and shut up. And I agree with Al's advice on that. That he's a professional, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a professional
Mhm.
counselor or anything like that. But just listening to them, right? Like we said before, also, not putting this big secrecy on the topic of sex, because like we said before, right? How is a kid who's been in the church, Christian for all their life, is now pregnant
Mhm.
without being married or
Yeah.
without being prepared?
Yeah.
If we talked about these issues before at the church,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as a youth leader, I would talk to them about it, and I would say, you know, this kind of seems you're talking to the guy, and I know you like them.
Mm-hmm.
I know it really seems promising, but honestly, like, you gotta realize that there are some toxic traits there, right? So, counseling, finding the church that accepts that counseling is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one
If you want to have your faith, but also there are some things that could be prayed away and by a miracle, right?
Yeah.
We've heard of miracles before that, this situation was prayed away. Great. Awesome. But not every single time. You know, that's why
Yeah.
I feel like there's professionals now.
100%. Yep.
So get help with counseling. Talk about the topic. If you're a parent, talk about the topic with your kids as they're growing up. Obviously at the right time.
too.
You're not gonna tell an 8-year-old about
Everything in the plan.
Yeah.
about sex and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
At the
but
right time. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
due time. Don't keep it a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Accept the relationships. I always told we agree when our kids come to that age where they want to have a our relationship, stay in my house. It's okay.
Yeah.
And
You'll
not
be
be like our
fine.
parents are like, no,
Yeah.
You can't be here.
puedes.
No, no.
You know how many
Yeah.
times I've snuck out and done. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
the
it's true.
more
It's true.
accepting you are,
Mm-hmm.
the more you can watch them.
But look,
The
but
more
look,
you can
I-
guard them.
I feel like that's what happened to us because we got rejected.
Yeah.
And then you
So
kind
we
of
hid.
cherish. You hid.
We went.
You
You're
ran.
just, you're just
Yeah,
right, fine.
yeah.
If you don't want to see
Because
us, we'll see each other
We
more.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
I will walk from Pastor Guido's house all the way to Jackie's house.
I remember that very specifically.
I'll walk and then I'll be with her. You know, like sometimes talking there because they told me you cannot come to his house anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I want to see Jackie. Oh
Mhm.
no, you can't. You're banned.
So
Okay.
basically,
So I just-
Conserve the relationship
Yes,
while it's
definitely.
healthy.
Yeah, it's
And
very
not-
important.
Yeah.
Be the reason why it gets tarnished, so you don't
Yeah.
get to that point. But if you are a young kid
Mm-hmm.
where you are in the same shoes that we were in, don't feel pressure.
Mm.
Figure out why you got to that point in life, right?
Mhm.
Figure out, obviously, be responsible, get checked
Mhm.
out, follow up with your appointments, you know. But don't feel pressured to live up to a standard because that standard is not yours anymore. As soon as that baby came into your life,
yeah.
you are responsible for that baby and not your parents, not your guardians.
Mm.
So as
So-
much as you want to take maybe advice from people, you are responsible for creating your own home,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? And making new traditions, new rules. So don't feel pressured to do anything drastic or anything fast.
Mm.
You know, you're still going to be
Great
pregnant
advice.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
You're
Yeah,
going to have
yeah.
that baby and,
Mhm.
you know, it's fine. We will live.
Yeah.
So don't, honestly, we say that if we were to go back in time, we wouldn't have gotten married at such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't regret being married,
Yeah.
but we would have done it better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You would
You
have put
know,
a little
in
bit
due
of a
time.
pause.
Yeah.
A
In
little
due
bit of a
time.
break. Like,
Completely
Yeah.
press the
understand.
brakes.
Yes.
You have any closing thoughts, Chris, before I close the podcast?
No, definitely not. We're not only over time, but we definitely have to have you guys again.
No,
A lot-
100%.
there was
I
a
really
lot
want you
to
guys to be
say.
back because it's so cool to me to be able to have that oh my god, I can't, the word is escaping me right now. But relatability.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we all grew up kind of in the same environment, obviously different stories, but we have that understanding of things that it kind of clicks. It kind of
Mhm.
clicks for us. Like everything that you guys say to me, it's very relatable to me, and I know it will be relatable to a lot of other people. So with that, first of all, are you guys are you still playing in the church right now? Are you playing and are you involved in the church too?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want, before I said this, I wanted to make sure I'm super happy that you guys are, I know that you guys don't want to see yourself as leaders, but you are in my eyes. Okay, so I want to say it like this. Okay, I'm so happy that people like you are leaders in church, because I know that someone that could walk into that church that could possibly wear in your same shoes, you guys are there to give them that advice that they need, and not someone that like you guys had in the past.
You know, like
So
people.
I'm super happy that you guys are leaders in that church and are involved in the church. Thank you again, guys, for coming. It means a lot that you guys are here.
Thank you,
And
guys.
Yeah,
no,
definitely.
this
You
is
guys are
super
coming.
super cool. And again, thank you guys for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
3,
Bye.
2.
Bye.
No.